Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Scarfey Spurs Talk page. Welcome to probably a memorable podcast here because Tottenham have finally won a trophy. So happy to say that. I mean, people who know me on this channel know that I'm probably one of the most pessimistic Spurs fans you can imagine. But I'm here finally happy for once because we've won something. I can't believe we've done it. But let's get straight into it. Let's introduce our guests. First of all, Rachael, becoming a bit more consistent on the channel. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Tired, my legs hurt, my chest hurt, my voice hurts. Yeah, I'm ADHD Spurs from TikTok.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been a long couple of days, isn't it? I think we're all like hanging a bit. I think we're all, just off the celebrations. It's been absolutely insane, hasn't it?
Oh, it sure has.
Yeah. Alfie, how are you doing? Back on the channel.
You're good, thank you. It's good to be back. And it's lovely to be on a historic podcast, one to celebrate a victory for once. Not even just a victory, actual trophy win. So yeah, still buzzing with the result.
Exactly, mate. Like, I mean, I think, the season we've had, 17th place in the league, absolute, one of the worst seasons we've seen. And yet we've finally seen a trophy, probably the season none of us expected it, and we've got it. So it's unbelievable to see that we've got that. Kyle, nice to see you back on the channel. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. It's been a while. A lot has changed. We've actually won a trophy since the last time I've been on. So delighted about it.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I mean, it's again, I think it's a bit surreal for all of us, being Tottenham fans, especially. I mean, it looks like we're all pretty young. Like none of us have really experienced too much of it, and we're finally here. I mean, I was 7 when we won the League Cup, the old League Cup, and I don't even remember it being 7 years old. And here I am. This really feels like the first true trophy that I've experienced, the first bit of glory I've really experienced. So nice, unbelievable times to be a Tottenham fan. Let's just get everyone's opinions on how you're feeling. How are you feeling after this? Let's start actually. Let's go into it, going into the game before we get to how we felt afterwards. So, we're going into it final against Manchester United, beating them 3 times this season, and it's biggest game probably since the Champions League final. Kyle, first of all, how were you feeling going into it? I'm sure you were nervous, but what were you thinking? What were you expecting?
Well, obviously in the back of my mind, I knew that obviously we'd enjoyed some good games against United this season. We hadn't lost to United this season, but I was also thinking it is the most Tottenham Hotspur thing to do, to lose the most important game out of all 4 of the games. So I was nervous. I don't really seem to remember most of the game. I was just so nervous. I feel like I must have just blacked out for the entire of the game. I can only remember the goal, and then for that I was just so nervous that I just kind of blanked everything out of what was going on. But yeah, so happy that we got over the line in the end.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll get into the game and everything that happened. I can tell you that the last 15 minutes of the game, I couldn't watch it. Genuinely couldn't watch it. I was so nervous. Like, I was getting so angry. We'll get all into it anyway, but I was getting so angry and I was getting so frustrated that I couldn't watch it. I had to go into the other room and just wait for it to be over. Because, I mean, as all of us, I'm sure everyone in the comments and all of us have experienced, like, being a Tottenham fan has not been easy. Like, since birth, it's been so difficult, especially with all your friends supporting other clubs and them seeing success and us never having that. It's always getting ribbed, always getting, mugged off and stuff like that. And now we finally got a bit of, glory that we can throw onto other people. But Alfie, how are you feeling about it? How are you feeling about the game leading up to it? In the last, probably since the Bodo Glimt game, I'm sure everyone's feeling a bit nervous.
Yeah, I mean, you think I'd learn by now, but I was optimistic. Weirdly, I was just thinking at the time. I was thinking in the build up to the Champions League final, and I don't know if it's the same for everyone else. It just felt extremely different, and I don't think even that team that went into the Champions League final had a good chance of winning. But it just felt like, oh my God, what an occasion. We're here. I wasn't really thinking about winning. I was more thinking about my team being in the Champions League final. Whereas perhaps it's the fact I was surrounding myself with just like a Spurs content that was just like, we're going to win, we're going to win. I was almost convinced that it was going to happen, and clearly rightly so in the end. But yeah, I was just like almost looking forward to it. buzzing to just see what was going to happen. This is a perfect opportunity, I felt like. Not until I've sort of retrospectively listened to like Gary Neville and a lot of the Man United legends before the final that I've actually realised a lot of the narrative was that Man United were going to win. I think with the bookies they were the favourites, and I didn't really sort of feel that anxiousness in the build up until probably about an hour before. I think I had to take myself out for a run just to not think about the game about an hour before. But in the build up before, the days prior to the game, I felt like it was our time. And as someone else said, obviously, it does feel very Tottenham to be 17th and to win the Europa League. So that all sort of played into my consciousness that I was weirdly felt like something was happening. The stars are starting to align. I think the help was also the fact that all these things add into your consciousness as well. When Crystal Palace won the FA Cup, I sort of felt that this is a year where we could win this. I could see it happening, and obviously we did. So yeah, it was a weird sort of low-key confidence I was holding within myself.
Yeah, well, you had that contrast in things, and you had like, the established or not even journalists, the established commentators like Gary Neville and Carragher coming out and saying there's no way Tottenham will win. But then you also had like all the other things happening where Palace have won, Newcastle have won, like the year of the bird kind of thing, and everyone winning these trophies. And it just kind of felt like maybe the stars were aligning and we were going to get over the line. So, again, a magical day. Rachel, how were you feeling before the start of the game? Going into it, I'm sure it was very nerve-wracking.
I was very nervous. I'll get it now. Be quiet. Let me finish this and I'll get it. I was feeling very, very nervous after I thought, Man United's going to actually beat us. I was like, we're so poor. And I was very worried, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of Tottenham fans will share that. I mean, I would share that. Like going into the game, I was, so nervous just because the last four finals we hadn't even scored a goal. So it was hard to go into it with loads of confidence, especially being a Spurs fan. But let's get into the game now. Obviously, we know how it goes, but let's kind of cover the different things that happened. First of all, let's go through the lineup. We had Vicario in net, Porro, Van der Ven, Romero, Udogi, Bentancur, Basuma and Sarr, and Johnson, Solanke and Richarlison. Now, obviously, a couple of injuries leading up to the game obviously meant that Maddison, Bergvall, Kulusevski weren't available. Kyle, how did you feel about that lineup going into the game? Obviously, no Son starting, maybe a bit more of a pragmatic midfield. What were you thinking when you saw it?
Well, obviously, when I saw the defence and as well, like the results we've had with that defence all starting with each other, I was feeling a lot more confident to see it. I think the main issue that kind of divided a lot of social media really in the build up to the game was how we would set up in midfield, who would play in the 10 role. And previously as well, when Basuma, Sarr and Bentancur started together, we have not played well. I think that might have been the midfield where we lost 4-0 to Liverpool in the Carabao Cup second leg. So there was always that divide of who should start the 10. And when I saw it, I wasn't very confident, but I'm so glad that I was proven wrong because we did look really stable under pressure. And as well, I think Sarr, he has underperformed this year. I would say compared to last year. However, I thought he was amazing. It really helps us having those legs in the midfield. And to be fair, Son starting on the bench, I was quite happy with, to be honest. I think I tweeted a few days before the final, I'd like to see him come on with half an hour, 20 minutes to go against tired legs, because I think that's probably where he should be utilised in the future. I don't think he's probably good enough to be starting games, but against tired legs with 20 minutes to go where he can just run himself into the ground, I thought that was the right call.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the lineup kind of gave us a sense of unknown. We're going into most games where you think, okay, we've got Maddison in that kind of like unlocking role where he makes us tick a lot of the time usually. But without him, you've got Bentancur, Basuma and Sarr, and you're thinking, where is the creativity? What is that midfield going to be like? How is it going to work? How is it going to, who's going to do what? And, I think all of us would probably share there, where you're just like, you're not really sure what's going to happen. Alfie, how were you feeling when you saw the lineup?
Yeah, I think it was near enough as I expected. Apart from the Son decision did surprise me. I thought him starting Aston Villa, I thought was sort of the lead up to him starting the game, because more minutes in his legs. He sort of looked very sharp in that Aston Villa game that I thought he's going to start. Not that I personally even thought it'd be the best decision. He has looked a little bit revitalised since coming back from his most recent injury, I thought, but I did sort of see the idea of packing out the midfield, and the Manchester United midfield is configured of Bruno Fernandes. He doesn't really want to play that deep, and a Casemiro who his legs aren't the same as what they used to be. So I did sort of like the idea of packing out the midfield, and I think the game proved that it worked. I mean, as we said there, Sarr hasn't had the best season perhaps on the ball, but undeniably every game off the ball, he will offer you so much in terms of coverage across the pitch. So I think the plan was clear and they executed it perfectly. Richarlison offered sort of a beacon to hit, and I felt that we sort of replicated the approach for the Bodo Glimt and maybe even the Frankfurt game to a certain extent, of just sort of hitting Richarlison in particular, or getting it a bit longer to Solanke, and almost cutting out the midfield and using the midfield more as an engine room to just overrun the midfield of the opposition and just try and win the ball back. And I think the first 40 minutes before the Johnson goal, everyone said about how bad the final was, but we executed the plan perfectly, and it was never going to be a pretty game. As soon as I saw the lineup, I thought this isn't going to be attractive unless we bring on Odebear or someone in the midfield who's going to do some insane creative job that they've never done before. The game was not going to be an attractive one because we had no creative outlet, and I think we executed the plan as well as we could, and the trophy proves it. So I was pleasantly surprised with the performance. And the team, when I saw it come out, I knew what the plan was, and we executed that perfectly.
Yeah, I completely get what you mean there. Rachael, you went to the Tottenham Stadium for the final with your family. I'm sure it was a great day out for that. How did what was it like in the stadium? What was it like, when you saw that lineup? How were you feeling? Was it all nerves, or were people confident?
I thought I was a bit shocked that Heung-min Son wasn't starting, to be honest. And I wasn't very confident about the creativity of where are we going to move forwards. I thought it was a bit iffy, but the atmosphere at Tottenham, from the time I got up there to the time I left, it was absolutely pumping. The whole, you could feel it. The whole fans were together, and it was like being at the old White Hart Lane. Everyone's singing, flags being flown. And it was just an amazing feeling to be knowing that we was all together. Yeah, we was watching it on the screen. The players weren't there, but it felt real. And them last minutes of that last 5 minutes of 7 minutes of that game, we was all hugging each other. Everyone was throwing beer in the air, and it was just so nerve-wracking. You could hear the tension of everyone. It just was just absolutely phenomenal. And then when we got that final whistle went, you just see people running on the pitch. That was it. Everyone was gone.
Yeah, no, I mean, seeing all of the videos online and everything is just unbelievable day, magical day, and we'll get into all the post-match kind of celebrations. But let's just go into the game and what happened. Obviously, as you said, Alfie, it was a cagey game. No, it wasn't much at all. It was a cagey final. Definitely not one that's going to be remembered for the football on the pitch. More the fact that Tottenham finally won a trophy.
Will be remembered.
Yeah,
Mickey's one defending will be remembered.
Yeah, but let's go off the start first. Obviously, it was a cagey game. Not too many chances. From Man United point of view, you had Ahmad being quite a bright spot for them in the first half.
Lie down.
Flash the ball. Flash the ball. It's all right, don't worry. Flashing the ball across the box. They just agonisingly wide for Manchester United. Just needed someone to tip it in, but didn't get that chance. But realistically, the first real chance, or the first real thing I can remember from that first half, was the goal. Was Johnson scoring, and Basuma intercepting the ball from Bruno Fernandes, it building up through to Bentancur, who lays it off to Sarr with a great ball into the box. Really, a great one that you're looking for your strikers to kind of look to try and get on the end of. And a lot of fortune in it, but Brennan Johnson gets on the end of it, bundles the ball into the net, and we're 1-0 up. Kyle, first of all, how were you feeling about that when we got that goal?
To be fair, it took me about 5 seconds to realise that the ball had actually went into the net. It looked like he'd scuffed it to the side netting or something, but then after looking at the replay, I wasn't exactly sure how it was awarded to Johnson either. To be fair, like I don't know if it was just because in the moment I'd had quite a few beers, but I couldn't see where he got the touch. But we take it absolutely.
I was convinced it was an own goal. Like I still am slightly convinced it was an own goal. Like there was so many moments where I was like, has he actually touched that? I'm still not convinced he touched it. But to be honest, like I didn't give a shit. It went in the net. That's what mattered. Like, But no, I completely get you. Like it just seemed one of the worst goals, probably a winning goal in a final you've ever seen. But Alfie, what were you feeling? Were you watching it at home, or where were you watching the game? And what was that moment when that ball went in the net?
Yeah, I was watching it at home with my dad, and just as Carl said, like I thought it'd gone the other side of the net. The way the whole move played out, it was the strangest goal. When you watch it back in the slow motion, you can just sort of like, it's almost the most perfect goal for the situation we're in. It's like the desperation. You can see like Johnson's eyes is like, I think as you said, he must get some stud or some touch to it. But like his face, he's so desperate just to get anything on it. And the collective sort of reaction of him mirrors the fans. And it was just like a beautiful moment of, it almost embodied how much like us as fans and the players clearly wanted this trophy so much. And the minute it sort of went in, I was like, just everyone erupting. It was just incredible. And Johnson like failing his knee slide and going flying. It was just an incredible moment. And me and my dad were just going absolutely mad. And it was almost the perfect time to score, really, especially just before half time. And it was, it was just incredible. But as you said, not the prettiest goal, but it will forever go down as a memorable one. And I'm not really sure what he was trying to do, even when the ball came in at first. It was a good ball by Saar, but I'm not really sure where Johnson was even intending to hit it. I think he miskicked the initial kick, and then the second one was just sort of a desperate flick at it. But I think it was almost a perfect reflection of how much this means to the club and the players, really.
Yeah, I mean, I remember in that moment when that ball went in, I was the same as you, watching it at home with my dad, and like I remember that moment, and I was celebrating, but then I was also like, because of VAR, I was like, he's not offside. There's no chance offside. There's no chance to hit his hand. I was like, obviously double questioning everything. It was so close to hitting his hand as well. So I was just like, thank God. But we find ourselves 1-0 up, kind of hanging on towards the end of the first half. We get into half time and we're 1-0 up, and it's, it was kind of a surreal feeling. I was thinking, we're winning, but I didn't really have that faith yet that we were going to get over the line just in that moment. How were you guys feeling? Rachel, if you're back, if you can hear me, how were you feeling at half time after we were 1-0 up?
I was actually confident that we was going to win it. I said, we're going to go all the way. We're going to do this. It was a boring final. We just need now to either go get another default goal, or we've got to go and defend with our whole bodies and not let them score.
Yeah, and what ended in being the latter is what we did. But again, it was, for me, I just struggle to be confident with Tottenham. I'm always so pessimistic. It's just obviously what I've kind of been brought up knowing. So even at half time, I think for a moment I was like, yeah, okay, we're winning. And then straight away that dread sets in. You're like, oh, there's still another 45 minutes to go yet. And we know what Tottenham's defensive record has been this year. It has been appalling. I mean, obviously, with our starting, 4, the 4 we expect at the back, or 5, we do know that we are strong defensively at points, but it's still Tottenham. It is Tottenham, and it's hard to ever expect anything positive. But going into the second half, it felt like we just basically went, you know what, we're going to try and hold on to this. Like the game in Frankfurt, like you said, Alfie and Bodo Glimt, we just went pragmatic and defensive and thought, let's hold on to this now. Let's try and get through. One moment that I wanted to kind of mention, and this is where I really got frustrated, was when we went on that counter attack, and it was a Doggy and Solanke running through, and it felt like this is it. This goal could be it. This could win us the Europa League. And it's a great pass by a Doggy, I feel, and Solanke just couldn't get on the end of it. I don't know if it was due to his just tired legs or just not reaching it, but I was just like screaming at the TV, like, please get there, and he didn't get there. How were you feel? How was the atmosphere when that happened, Rachel, in the stadium, because it was so close to being 2?
Well, it was all very. It was like breath. It was like hand under the head. We were screaming, run,
Yeah, it just felt
and
like
then,
it was going to be that moment, and then
yeah,
it
I thought,
fell away.
this is done now. We're going to score this, and it's over. We can sit back and just watch the game. And then he missed it, and it was like, you absolutely where the fuck was that?
Yeah,
What are you doing?
Screaming moment. I mean, Tottenham like to leave us in agony, didn't they? They like to leave us. They didn't want to make it easy. Let's be honest.
Tottenham.
None of it was ever going to be easy.
Can I just say something though?
Yeah, of course.
Right, about number 17. I did put it in the chat. What number does Romero wear?
I'm guessing it's 17. I can't remember.
How many years without a trophy?
17.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Romero was. Do you not see the resemblance?
I mean, Romero was unbelievable, wasn't he? And they brought the trophy back to N17, so it all comes up, doesn't it? Anyway, yeah, Alfie, how were you feeling in that moment where Solanke was almost through it? It honestly felt like it was, this far off his toe, and to get him maybe a second goal.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I sort of like escaped my memory when the full-time whistle went, and the last 10 minutes I was just so focused on defending that I forgot about that moment. And oh my God, yeah, at the time I remember when they sort of I think he fell over, didn't he? He almost got there, and he tripped a little bit, Solanke, and I was like, oh my God, that's going to be the moment, isn't it? I was thinking of all the times I've supported a team, and there's been that close moment, and this knife edge has decided. I thought that's going to be it, because it just felt like, I remember there multiple times, I think the angle from, I was watching it at home, that the angle of the TV wasn't that great, that it kept feeling like they were zooming out and there'd be a player there, and you get excited that there was an open space, and there wasn't. And in that moment, the camera went wider and wider. I thought, oh my, we're in. I don't even know how it happened. It didn't even feel like it was that late in the game that they were overcommitting too much. And yeah, it felt like that was going to be, as you said, the second goal, the relief. My prediction before the game was 2-0, because I thought maybe in the second half they start to really hammer it, and a moment like that would happen. And yeah, it just, when that didn't happen, I thought we're gonna have to just, we're not going to score another goal here. I remember thinking, I've never seen Solanke look so tired. I've never seen Son off the bench look tired when he's been in the pitch for 5 minutes. Every player looked emotionally and physically drained. That after that missed opportunity, it felt like the game switched to, right, we're only winning this by defending now. We're not going to get another chance to score. And luckily we held out and saw it out defensively with a great defensive performance. But yeah, going forward, there wasn't many highlights, but that was definitely one that was it felt like a missed opportunity that we recovered extremely well defensively instead.
Yeah, 100%. It was just, again, it just felt like that could have been it. But again, Tottenham leave you in anxiety, leave you in nerves. They don't want to ever make things easy, do they? So we'll move on to probably one of the biggest moments of the game. We'll come to you, Carl, for it. Obviously, Vicario coming out to kind of claim a free kick into the box, it spilling through his hands and onto his face, knocking out to Højlund for a free header, and Van de Ven having probably one of the most heroic clearances off the line you've ever seen. What was the feeling like in that moment, and how great was that clearance from Van de Ven?
Well, firstly, it was, what on earth was Vicario doing, to be fair? I think it was just a moment of madness. It kind of looked like it was not really on to begin with, to be fair, and his defender was right in front of him. I think if he'd have just left it, it would have been cleared perfectly fine, and we go on from there. But I just remember when I was in the pub for it, when Van de Ven cleared it off the line, it just kind of went silent for a few seconds. I think people couldn't quite believe that he'd pulled it off as well. It's definitely one of the best clearances I've seen, and especially the occasion of it as well, to be in a final as well. I think when that happened, it filled me with a lot more confidence of that, because we were just defending so well, and I think that really put the icing on the cake. So yeah, it was just unbelievable defending. It was great.
100%. I think that moment did sway a lot of people when we were like, even the ones who were pessimistic like myself, and you see Van der Ven do that, and you're like, maybe this is the day. Like maybe we are going to get through it. If he can do that, if he can become superhuman and make that clearance, then maybe we can really get over the line. But you are right. Vicario, I was thinking either you let I think it was Solanke he clattered into. You either let Solanke get that header out or you take him out and grab the ball. You don't just 50-50 it. And he just, again, it was really poor from him. Obviously, he does make up for it with a couple of unbelievable saves towards the end of the game. Obviously, one from Garnacho a little bit earlier on, but then the one right at the end from Luke Shaw's header gets down to his, and obviously I've seen people say, oh, it's a save he should make. And yeah, maybe it is. But in that moment, with the weight of Tottenham on his shoulders in a moment where we just need to get out of this game and get through it, and he does that. I mean, it's absolutely massive. So I think he did really come up clutch towards the end. So fair play to him. But I think all of them did. I was looking at some of the substitutes. You've got obviously, like you said, Son coming on for Richarlison. I thought at first maybe that could have been a mistake because we know Son hasn't been the best defensively in the past. But, he come on.
I am still here. I just wanted to let you know.
No worries, Rachel. But yeah, I mean, obviously Son comes in and kind of provides some defensive help. Obviously, Danzo coming on for Johnson in the 79th minute kind of showed Ange's hand, wasn't it? It was like, we are just going to defend for 10 minutes. This is what we're going to do, and hopefully we'll get through. And then obviously Spence as well coming on towards the end of the game, as well as Archie Gray, to kind of shore out that kind of defensive structure. And we got there. We got the win. We finally got that trophy. Magical day. And, seeing all the celebrations online, seeing people's own celebrations for, at home, people's celebrations in the stadium, the celebrations in Bilbao, and all the different clips of like Sonny and Madders and all these players celebrating. It's just unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, what did you think, Alfie, of all of that? Everything, the 17-year wait, the weight is off our shoulders. We finally got it. And you could see it on the players' faces as well.
Yeah, as it edged like close and close, I was just thinking like the amount of times I've sort of grown up in an era when I started becoming football conscious. It felt like this is such an exciting era, such an exciting team in the Pochettino era that we were going to win things. I was going to see my team win trophies, and it felt like we were just being taken the mickey out of by like every other opposition fan. And as the minutes just ticked along, I just thought this is going to be this is the moment we've all been waiting for. This is the moment that everyone in this fan base so deserves. For the last 17 years, it hasn't been easy being a Tottenham fan. We're in this weird, we live in this weird era of Spurs where it feels like we're not big enough to be part of the big boys, like the Manchester Uniteds, even in stature, or the Man Cities that are winning in terms of winning things. But we're reputationally very large, and our fan base is very large. It feels like we're in a weird sort of space where we don't really fit in terms of any of the categories that the top six fit within, and it just felt such like an individual moment that was special. And even the commentary I was listening to, I was thinking they kept mentioning the Champions League qualification. I was just thinking, you do not understand the magnitude of what it means. I don't care about the Champions League qualification.
None of us give a shit about that.
Exactly. I literally sat there watching celebrations for about an hour, and then I sat there and went, "Oh, we get Champions League next year." That was the back of my mind. The people who understand it, the Spurs fans who've I've been to the FA Cup semi-finals where we've thrown it away and we've lost. I've been to the Carabao Cup games where it felt like we were going to do something for once and we didn't. And to just see Son crying, and him and Davies just embodied the struggle of the last 10 years. And it was wonderful to see someone from that era that I've grown up with personally sort of finally have their moment in the sun. And it felt like they turned into proper Tottenham icons and people that really understood the club. And it's not easy. A little bit,
and you're going to go.
Because it's not easy to understand Spurs from an outsider's view. And I felt like it was almost a collective experience that all of us Spurs fans could just enjoy at once. We just all sat there and just thought we've finally done it. And no one else understands quite how much it meant to everyone, or they might take the mickey out of it being a parade for the Europa League. But this means everything to us. That moment was just incredible. I think we've all just decided to try and consume every minuscule content they've created since. And we're playing Brighton. We're 17th tomorrow. I'm going to the game. I can't wait. I want to have a massive party. I don't care about the result. I want to bask in the glory. I want to enjoy being a glorious Spurs fans for once. And that is just a moment you'll never get back. No matter if we win something in the next 5 years, it will never be as good as the one that took long enough to get, like that one did. I think it's just an incredible moment.
100%. And I agree with you. Like, the game tomorrow means absolutely nothing, and no one cares about the result. Not one person, not one fan there, I think, is going to care about the result. It's all about just celebrating with the team, being in that stadium. No matter the score, we're all going to be happy, and you know that's what a trophy can do. Even in probably the worst season I've ever seen in my lifetime, we're still probably the happiest I've ever been as a Tottenham fan. And you're completely right, Alfie, in terms of like, other fans don't know this. Like, they don't know this feeling, because you're right. We are so singular. Tottenham is so singular. Like, we've been treated as this big team for so long, but never got the glory from it. And it's like, you know, people have, you know, pushed us down, told us that we're not good enough. We're not the team. We're never going to win. And getting that feeling, I know, you know, for Palace, it's monumental what they've done. And for Newcastle, they finally got a trophy after 40 years. But for Tottenham, we've spent so long being told that we're not the team that we feel like we can be, and getting that trophy is finally proven to us that we are that team, and it's given us that kind of that feeling of glory, and that we were right to be supporters of this team. But Kyle, you know, how were you feeling? You said you were in the pub. What was the reaction like to the final whistle? What was your feeling? What was your emotions during that moment?
I mean, yeah, I got quite emotional, to be honest, and I think you'd be a bit weird if you didn't get emotional at it. To be fair, like you said earlier, we're all quite young. I'm 21, so I would have been 4 or 5 when we last won our trophy. I don't remember anything of that, so it really is my first experience of us winning a trophy. So I got quite emotional as well, and considering as well, I put a tweet out a few days ago that like my granddad had passed the day before the final, and he was a lifelong Spurs fan. I just kind of thought of that as well, as of that throughout my lifetime. Me and him didn't really get to experience that together, of winning a trophy. So it was a really nice feeling. It was like, it felt a lot more personal, as well as just the whole like aspect of us, like, as a club, as a fan base, experiencing winning a trophy for the first time. It's definitely, I'll never forget it. It was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, sorry for your loss, Carl. You know, it's always hard to lose a loved one, especially, and again, but it's great that you have that combined love for something such as Tottenham, and you had that celebration. It was kind of like, I'm sure it felt like your granddad was there with you celebrating that, you know, because it's, you know, such a special moment. I mean, for me and my dad, like, Tottenham is such an integral part of our relationship, and it's a massive reason why we're close. And that's what football can do. That's what this football club has done. And getting that moment where you got to celebrate, you know, with like-minded people around you, and just, you know, feel that glory and that love for this club is something that is so special. It will never be taken away from us now. You know, we've got to experience that, and that's such a special moment. I'm not sure if Rachel's here, but I wanted to ask her about, you know, what it was like in the stadium.
I am here.
What was it like it's all right, Rachel, but what was it like in that moment when Tottenham, you know, the final whistle went, you know, you said everyone stormed the pitch, and it was just absolute, you know, magic really in the air. What was that moment like for you and for your family and for everyone in the stadium?
Absolutely tremendous. It was absolutely, that feeling was just unreal. No, you just have to use that. Danny, I'm on the phone.
Rachel.
Stop.
But well, no, we'll keep going then. But I mean, the next day, very quickly, we're on to a trophy parade. I mean, again, another massive thing for Tottenham, and I didn't realise how big it truly was going to be. And then watching some of it online and seeing everything, I mean, there was estimated there was 225,000 people in and around that, which is, you know, if anyone tries to call us a small club, there you go. We're not a small club, but that is unbelievable numbers for, you know, European Cup, you know, and it was just an unbelievable day, seeing the celebrations of all the fans, the people who couldn't be there in Bilbao, seeing the players and how happy they were and just how drunk they were as well was so funny. And then we also got that moment of Ange's speech and what he was saying about, next season. That was, that could be one of the coldest moments if we go and do something unbelievable next year as well. What were you all thinking like when we had Son and you had Ange kind of having that, that moment on top of the cafe where they were saying
on the camera? Did you hear him?
Yeah, no, that was so.
He actually swore.
You never expect seeing Sonny to swear. Like he seems like the most model person, and then he was like, "We fucking won." It was so funny. I couldn't believe he did that. But how were you feeling, Alfie, when you were hearing like Son and you were hearing Ange kind of say what they were saying, how happy they were, and then that moment where Ange was like, "Oh, just like series, Netflix series and stuff. Season 3 is always better than season 2 and stuff like that." I thought that was such a nice line of him to say. But how were you feeling when you were seeing all of that?
Yeah, I was firstly gutted I couldn't be there. I ended up working, I couldn't be there, and I was watching it from online, just sort of watching each bit, and I was almost worried when we saw it was on a Friday on a work day. I was like,
I don't know why they did that. Like, why did they not just on a Saturday?
Exactly. I'm assuming it's something for they must have to have it approved from the council or something.
Yeah.
But if that wasn't a Friday and we got that many fans there, I mean, imagine if it was even on the bank holiday Monday on the Saturday, it'd have been incredible. But I was sort of worried when I saw it was
We
Friday.
could do it today because we've got a game tomorrow.
Yeah, I assume that's why.
Well, I was thinking, maybe, but there's a possibility. I mean, I don't know how quickly it takes them to kind of get it done.
Parade on Monday.
I assume some of the players are going on holiday and stuff from Monday onwards.
Yeah.
But when I saw it on Friday, I was worried. I was like, oh no, it's gonna diminish our trophy. Everyone's gonna take the mickey because there's gonna be parts where it doesn't look very good. And then I just saw it, I was like, oh my god, like, this is ridiculous.
It was absolutely. I was there.
Yeah,
and I'm telling you now, it was out of this world. That everything from start to them coming, everything. It was chopper. You could not move.
No, packed in like sardines, wasn't it?
I knew it was gonna be a good day when I saw that the stadium was packed at like midday. I was like, it doesn't start for another 4 hours, and we packed out the stadium. But I felt like that's when it like really synced in, like seeing Son, and it was just nice to see. We've had such an awful season. It's nice to see the players smile. Like I just saw like Brennan Johnson in. I think he went out and in, and he was like literally loving the fans. He was, I think, obviously there was probably a lot of the influence of the alcohol, but he was just like going mad for the fans. Like on the podium, he was like taking it all in, like leading the chants. And I just thought about the start of the season when
even Poro. Poro to me, I'm going to mention. Sorry, I've got ADHD, so if I talk over you, don't be offended. It's just sometimes I can't help it.
Yeah, it's okay, Rachel. No worries.
Poro captain next season.
He really does. He shows all the passion, doesn't he, of Tottenham?
Poro should be captain next season. He was absolutely unbelievable on that thing yesterday. Like all he kept singing, all he kept going.
Yeah, he was loving it, wasn't he?
Champion.
Thing is that his passion for Tottenham, or is that how drunk he was? It's one or the other. But no, it was.
Callum's here.
Yeah, we're going to bring him in a second. I was just about to introduce him. Callum, bit late, but always welcome to join us. How you doing?
Oh, mate, I'm still buzzing. I think I finally got some sleep, let's put it that way, this afternoon. I think I dozed off at 4 and I only woke up at 7:30. So literally, I'm fucking all over the place.
Look.
Fucking hell, look, the Soho lights are back. Jesus Christ. She's been down B&M today.
Well, you've joined us at the perfect time, Callum, because we're just kind of going through all the celebrations. What was everyone feeling? When that 17 years has now been lifted and we finally won a trophy. And again, it's not even just this. It's a European trophy. It's absolutely massive for Tottenham, and no one can take this away from us. Not at all. But how were you feeling? Where were you during the game? What was that moment like when that final whistle went? And what about the trophy parade? Do you have any comments on were you there or did you get to see any of it online? How special was this last week?
Well, to be fair, for the game, I was unfortunately at home, but I mean, I sat with my old man and he's seen trophies going back to the 60s. Let's put it that way. So he's seen so many legends play. He's seen Jimmy Greaves play. He's seen Mabbott play, all of that. So for me to actually be able to see this, because I saw the 2008 trophy, but I was like, about 10 at the time, so it didn't really have the same connotation. But seeing this was outstanding. I mean, I think I must have got through about 8 or 9 beers by full time. Let's put it that way. So I was rat-assed. I was literally out of it completely. And I think I was texting group chats left, right, and centre. I'm sure I told at least some Man United fans to go and fuck themselves as well, which did it for me. But no, it's so good to have this feeling. And I know we've all been talking and been sceptical and all that the last couple of weeks, but to actually get it done was outstanding, weren't it? So no, such a great feeling. The high has just kept going and going and going. The content that has come out from us as podcasters, from the club, from even journos has been brilliant the last couple of days as well. It's been so interesting looking at it. But I think what really tops it off was that parade. I mean, I've seen stats where they said between 150 and 200,000 people lined the route from Edmonton Green to the stadium. I mean, they even put scaffolding up. I've seen people putting complaints to Haringey Council about scaffolding being removed from their houses to go and be put up on buildings as well on the way. So God knows what happened there.
Gary Mabbott actually had to tell people to get down because if they didn't get down, then they would have to stop the parade for health and safety. So people actually got told to get down.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
all
you
of
saw
our fans
clips of people climbing onto businesses, climbing up onto buildings and stuff like that, just to get a good view of everything. And I mean, again, absolutely magical in it. I think if anyone, I said before you join, kind of, if anyone tries to say we're a small club, watch that and you'll see that Tottenham Hotspur is a massive football club of so many fans of all different races, all different genders, loving Tottenham Hotspur. It was unbelievable to see that parade and how just how many people were there just to see a bus full of 11 men going past holding a trophy. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, exactly, mate. Exactly. I mean, I think there's only probably a few clubs in this country who could field that many fans like that. And I think in my mind, the only clubs I would say that would definitely do it be Liverpool, Man United, City and Arsenal. I don't think Chelsea. I mean, I saw that interview today with someone who was saying that Chelsea could never do that. It's right. I don't know whether any of the lower clubs would. I mean, we've got obviously the Sunderland fans today. They'll probably have a parade next week for getting promoted to the Premier League. Don't think that really counts the same thing. Leyton Orient getting promoted. I mean, Orient's got a good following in East London, but that's about it. So there's not many to do it. And I didn't really see a big parade for Palace either, winning the FA Cup the other weekend, if they have done it or not yet. So
there's a Monday, I think.
So we'll see how they do it. But a lot of Crystal Palace's following is few and far between as well. So to see upwards of 150,000 people is unbelievable. And for people to say that we don't have a following around the world as well, the amount of people that went to the fan parks, that went to bars. I mean, I spoke to people in America, in Spain, in Germany, out in the Middle East as well. We even know people who are podcasters in Australia as well, and all of them were saying about the game. So I mean, there's no doubting that our fan base is amazing, and I think they have such a big part to play in this win as well. So commendable to everyone who's a fan out there. Let's put it that way.
100%. Well, I mean, that kind of actually makes me think of, even in Bilbao, in that stadium. I mean, we were by far the better fan base. You could tell through the TV, you could see it online, you could see how many Tottenham fans were there and what it meant to Tottenham. And I think it gave us that advantage in the game. Like I remember you saying, Alfie, about, we didn't care about Champions League football, we cared about the trophy. And that was the difference between Tottenham and Manchester United on the day. Manchester United were going into that game thinking, we need this for the money. We need this for Champions League football. It wasn't about the trophy, but for Tottenham and for and for the fans, it was all about the glory of winning. And that's what I think maybe got us over the line. You know, having that 12th man in terms of the fans and how loud they were. It makes me proud to be a Tottenham fan, seeing all of that and seeing what it means to everybody. We're getting on to a bit of a tricky question, though. The only tricky question I'll give you all of the podcast is about Ange Postecoglou. Obviously, I think it'll be interesting to know what people were thinking before the game anyway. But for me, I was completely Ange out. I don't have really much faith in his football at all. And obviously, I've seen a lot online of people's opinions changing on that. People kind of thinking, no, we've got to keep him. And I understand that, we finally got that taste of winning a trophy. And I think it will have swayed a lot of people. But how are we feeling here about Ange Postecoglou? Is he, does he need to stay? Does he need to be given, the rest of the next season? Does he need to be given, up until maybe November, December time? Or would you still be looking for a new manager? Let's go to you first, Kyle. How are you feeling about that?
The last couple of months I've been quite critical of him online. And I think before the final, I would have said that I think maybe not it being labelled as a sacking, but more of a mutual parting of ways would be a lot more kind of respectable. But I think give him a window, give him the summer window. But I think the summer window has to be spot on. There's no excuse for Levy to not pay big this summer. We've won a trophy, we've got Champions League, so that's automatically got some sort of pull in itself for players. And I know that Ange has said before that he doesn't want to sign players who are only wanting to sign for a club because they can offer Champions League football. However, that will always be in the back of a manager's mind or a chairman's mind, of that we can pull this caliber of player now that we can offer them this. So I think we have to get the summer window bang on, because if we don't, I think it could just be another season of where we underperform hugely in the league, because he hasn't got the depth or the experience as well. It's such a young squad. So yeah, I have done a U-turn. I think we should give him the summer and see what he does from there up until Christmas, maybe.
No, I completely get it. And I think a lot of Tottenham fans are with you on it, because again, this feeling of winning a trophy, I don't think any of us really knew what it felt like, especially obviously the younger generation. We didn't know what it felt like to win. And I think all of us being kind of, we all thought maybe it's time for him to go. But that feeling now has just completely changed everything for so many people. And it is understandable. But I think, we do need to think that this trophy does paper over some cracks. It's been one of the worst seasons we've seen in Tottenham history. Although probably one of the best being a supporter of, it's still, some of the football has been atrocious. And, is that going to be the football that goes into next season? Or are we going to see maybe what we saw at the start of Postecoglou's tenureship? Are we going to see that first 10 games where we looked unbeatable? Alfie, how are you feeling about Ange? Do you think, he needs another year, or what are you feeling right now?
Yeah, I knew it'd be hard I thought if we win it, it's going to be hard for everyone to be like, oh yeah, we'll get rid of him still. I knew it, but I don't think it'd be this hard. I think the main factor that's changed everyone's opinions. I mean, I was pretty supportive of him. I was pretty lenient because I could see you trying to change a philosophy, trying to change a club, and it would all be forgiven if you want a cup. But towards the end, the performances, losing to Leicester was one where I was like, right, that isn't good enough. Losing to relegated sides is inexcusable. But I didn't think it'd be this hard to be ruthless to him now. I think he's going to stay. And I think the main factor that's changing this is the fact the players seem to love him, which in my mind doesn't really make sense, because if they love him so much, why aren't they performing that in the league? Why even the second team not putting up a respectable performance against the likes of Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest in recent weeks? So that was that frustrates me still slightly. But the players clearly absolutely adore him, and the other idea is, well, there's not many alternatives that are viable or a good option. You can't get Oliver Glasner now. We know that. Adoni Iraola's stock's fallen quite significantly. Thomas Frank, I have reservations about how his style of play would transfer to a top club. So everyone else I have reservations about, and I might have my reservations about Ange, but he's won something at Spurs now, and the players clearly love him. And as Carl said, the transfer window is really important this summer, but his track record of signing players and embedding them into his squad and his philosophy is pretty good. I'd probably say the only miss he's had is Mana Solomon and Dragusin, the only two signings that we've made under Ange that I can say have perhaps been disappointments. I'm probably forgetting someone else, but I think Vicaria.
Don't forget Valise.
Oh yeah, Valise. Yeah,
that bastard's still around.
Somehow. But yeah, like if you think about Van der Ven, Vicario, Solanke's embedded really well. Even Odebeck he's brought out the best of in the last few months, and that he's even been one that's been really injured the whole season. So there is a lot of positives. All of a sudden now on a trophy, there's plenty of positives to draw upon. But I think the main thing is the players love him clearly. There's togetherness now. There's a proven winning mentality within the group and him, and there's not an alternative available or attainable. So I can see us really sticking with him for one more year. And as Carl said, Levy needs to show a backing for him if he's going to keep him with style.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I mean, I think we can all outline, what went wrong when we made it to that Champions League final, and it's that window we messed up entirely. We bought the wrong players, we made mistakes, and we didn't build off of what was such a wonderful occasion to get into a Champions League final, and at such a moment, key moment in Tottenham history, where are we going to build forward with Pochettino or are we going to fall flat? And that's what happened because we didn't invest right. So you're completely right. I think we're in such a, we're at this where you've got the two paths, and it's either you're going to go forward and make progress, or we're going to be back where we went. At least this time we got a trophy to take with us. But let's go to you, Rachel. I haven't come to you in a little bit, but what are you feeling about Ange Postecoglou? I mean, again, we've had this absolutely wonderful week, haven't we? And it's like, it's this moment now. Did you mute yourself? We've had an absolutely.
You muted me. Or was it him?
Oh, Callum muted you.
Was it you or was it him?
My hands were here. Anyway, but we've had an unbelievable week. So has that switched you around with Ange?
I'm going to say one thing. And one
here
thing
we go.
Daniel Levy and Donna Cullen, because her little fake profile, right? I don't care that we won a trophy. It doesn't the fact of what he's put our club through. Daniel Levy, Donna Cullen, you can toodaloo and you're on. And I changed my opinion of what I said. Let's go. Because Daniel Levy won't back him. And I don't care what anyone says on that. Daniel Levy got his money, and that's all we cared about.
No.
Shut up, Danny Ray.
He's not. He's not.
Danny, stop. Right,
we'll come back to Rach. Fucking Ada.
It actually didn't even agree. She was like, no.
Well, I didn't even get a legible sentence out of that. I was kind of like, Daniel Levy and Donna Cullen are going to go and fuck themselves. I thought the same about Ange, but now I don't. And then starting to have a row with a brick wall as well. So, I mean, fucking hell, Rach. Jesus Christ, you really are on one tonight.
Go on, though, Callum. It's your go. How are you feeling with Ange? What are you thinking?
No, Rach is back now, mate. Let her finish her time. Oh, no. Okay, she's done. Fair enough. Yeah, it's about the support network, which has got to be correct, I think, this summer. So if Paratici's coming back in, then he's got to take control. This new CEO, if he's taken over from Scott Munn as Director of Operations for Football, so Scott Munn's got to get fuck off back on his bike and go back to the cycling world. Johan Langer should be responsible for the youth development, no first-team players, let's put it that way. So if they're going to back Ange, this is the opportunity to do it. And, from the amount of shows that we've done, we've been very much Ange out by the end of it. Definitely, there's question marks over him still, I think. And it's like people have said, it's about, there's no good replacement at the moment I can see, apart from maybe a Xavi, someone like that. Yeah. But then does he come in and we restart a whole project and we go back again? does Ange get the chance another 6 months to see how it does? He has to adapt to know that his football is not possible going forward in the Premier League, because he did an Ange wall in the final and an Ange ball front going forward, and he needs the right players to meet his system. But there we go. I'm already going to get booted off. Thank God it's my last show on Monday for a couple of weeks at least. That'll be fine. But yeah, it's such a difficult one. And he's talking about the third season, but I don't know whether they're ready for it, to be honest. And I don't know whether the club would actively back him enough to get it done. That's the thing, because you get 100 million for going through. We've got the UEFA Super Cup final as well. It's also about what players are going to stay and go. Are they going to be brutal and say to Basuma and Richarlison, thank you very much, but you've got to go? But Romero, no, you're not going to Atletico Madrid. You're staying. They have. If we're going to do it, we've got to keep all our best players and let fringe players go. And if you get that amount of money and Romero doesn't sign a new deal, we've seen how Levy does this with Bale, Modric, Kane. They will be sold. And
I think it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to be cutthroat when you're so emotionally attached to this group of players now. Like once we've seen that trophy and seen how happy everyone is with their families, with the fans, it's like, you think you kind of have those rose-tinted glasses over Basuma and players like that, but you're like, yeah, but he was still awful this season, Basuma. He was so inconsistent. And yeah, okay, he came good right at the end, and that's great, but there was moments in the season where you could not trust him at all.
Well, he was awful again. He was awful against Villa the other night as well, weren't he? Completely at fault for both goals.
Such inconsistent performers across the squad. But again, it's trusting Daniel Levy. Are you going to make the necessary changes? Are you going to get certain players out? And as Rachael, I'm sure, thinks there's no chance you're going to get that with him.
Oh, here we go again.
No, Daniel Levy won't be backing Ange because he's got his money. He's got what he wanted. He's got a Champions League. Now he's going to go on holiday, and then we're going to go get fringe players. We ain't going to bring them players in. Donna Cullenham, she can jog on and all. She can go and cry and go and do whatever she wants to because she's no good. And
how could you do that to Donna Cullen? She's in the chat. How could you do that? She's right
Good.
here.
I hope she's in the chat. I hope she heard it and all. Donna Cullen.
Well, it's all right. There's Matt Calderwood and Rebecca Caplehorn as well, who are culpable as boardroom executive idiots as well at Spurs. But I think another change has got to be having people from the staffing setup as well change over. We need to have some people who are actually sort of breadwinners in the coaching staff as well, like Pep's had before, like Arteta's got. If we had any common sense, we'd go and get that set piece coach from Brentford.
Oh, no, thank you. I don't want a set piece coach. Bloody annoying. That Arsenal one's really turned me off of all of them. He just stands there and points something. He's not doing anything. They know what they're doing. They're all professional footballers. He acts like, I'm not even going to get
What about when we had Giovanni Vio before, that geezer under Conte, when he couldn't teach defensive set-piece coaches, but we scored the most set-piece goals in the league that year as well.
So none of them know what they're doing. Anyway. Yeah, well, I mean, for me anyway, with Ange, it's so hard for me not to be like emotional about it, but for me, I think I'd still be looking for him to go. I think the only thing, as Alfie and Callum you reiterated, is who is the person who's going to come in and take over. I don't know if there is that person out there that is perfect for the role. Again, Xavi sounds like one of the best options, but is it really the right one to take us forward? Who knows? It's a tough one. So maybe we need to see what Ange can do for a little bit in the next season. But next season's massive. We're in the Champions League. It is a big deal for Tottenham. We need to try and build off of it. And, with this team, how it is right now, we won't make it through that league stage. So this summer period is absolutely massive for Tottenham. And, are we going to be able to go throw our weight around? We've got money. We're in a good financial position. We're in the Champions League. There's players like Xavi Simons, Benjamin Sesko, some big players that could possibly be on the move. And will Tottenham be the ones to go get any of them? We don't expect it because we know what Daniel Levy can be, but you never know. You never know what can happen. But yeah, thank you all for that. We'll get onto the Brighton pre-match thoughts. Obviously, maybe not a game that too much of us care about, but obviously still a game of football tomorrow. I'm sure we'll all be watching. I know, Alfie, you said you're going to that game. So, still a game of football that we're all going to be cheering on for Tottenham to win. It's 8th place versus 17th. I can't believe I'm saying that, and Tottenham are 17th, but that's where we are. Obviously, Brighton are fighting for a European spot, so it's a massive game for them. They're going to be coming out needing the 3 points, and obviously Tottenham kind of coming off of a pretty big hangover. Not sure what this team's going to look like. For Brighton, you've got João Pedro, who's not featuring, as on Sunday he had a training ground altercation with Jean-Paul Van Hecke. Very interesting that. It looks like João Pedro is on his way out of Brighton. He was a player that I liked at the start of the season, but he's really kind of come off the boil. So I don't know if that's one we should look at. But also, Rutter is out for Brighton as well, being quite a key player for them in attack this season. But obviously, they've got some key players still in that team in terms of Benjamin Gruder, who's come in and looked really good. You've got Matoma, who's still unbelievable. You've got a solid, midfield and backline. Brighton are just a very professional outfit, aren't they? So we know what they can bring. And obviously Spurs are still without most likely Bergvall, Madders, and Kulusevski. So what are we thinking about a lineup, everyone? Alfie, how are you feeling? Who would you like to see play? Do you want it to mainly be maybe the team that played in Bilbao, or are you looking for maybe some rotation, some of the youngsters getting involved? What are you feeling for this final game of the Premier League season?
I mean, I think rotation is probably sensible, seeming as Brennan Johnson looked like he'd had enough beers to water the whole of North London at the parade. That I'm not sure how many of them will actually be in a fit enough condition or sports science fit enough condition to play. So I expect a lot of rotation. I think I've already seen that Son and Romero are injured, or they've got some sort of issue they're even playing with the final with. I think Basuma's a doubt as well. So I expect plenty of rotation, but I want to keep the vibes going. I don't want to end the season on a low. So I'd obviously love to win. As I said, I'm going. I'd love for us to just imagine what are we going to do if we just smash Brighton? Then everyone going into summer will be in the high vibe. They'll be thinking, Ange might be the man again. This might be the time to build. And as I said, I think we will keep Ange Postecoglou for the next season. That a win to cap off a season would be a great way to finish it off, but I wouldn't do that at the expense of risking a likes of Dominic Solanke for the start of next season. That's a lot more important than winning the last game of this one. So yeah, I expect plenty of rotation. It'd be nice to see some of the younger players. I think with no Son, perhaps it'd be nice to see a bit of Mikey Moore. Maybe let him start. But then the likes of Wilson Odobert, Matthias Tell, they're two players in particular that I felt quite aggrieved for not getting on the pitch in the final. They've been two players that have really made an impact in the latter stage of the season, and they've had a big say in our run to the final. So I think they should get the appreciation they deserve and start the game, in my opinion. But as I said, I expect plenty of rotation, and I don't expect a result, unfortunately, as much as I'd love one to take into the summer.
Yeah, completely understand. Rachel, you need to leave us, but again, thank you for coming on the podcast. Obviously, always a regular on the Scarfey Spurs Talk page, so it's great to have you back.
Yeah, Callum likes to rip me to pieces every time I'm on here, so...
Says you give it as good as you can get.
But Rachel, where can we find you?
You can find me on TikTok, ADHD Spurs Rach. I go live daily, so you're all welcome to come and join me and have the banter and have a laugh.
Great, Rachel. Well, thank you for joining us.
I will see you all soon.
Yeah, see you soon.
Right.
Come on, you Spurs.
Keep celebrating, Rachel.
I will do. Don't worry about that. See you later, guys.
See you later.
See you later, love.
Right.
Kyle, let's come to you. How are you feeling about this game tomorrow? Who are you thinking we could look at playing? Is there anyone you're desperate to see in the starting 11 or come off the bench? What are you feeling for the game tomorrow?
I just want a vibey starting 11. To be fair, like just Mikey Moore start, Odobert, a Mikey Moore Odobert wing pairing would be great. Obviously, like Alfie said, I don't want to get completely battered. So I think we should still go into the game like any professional team would go into the game and hope to get a result, aim to get a result. But it's going to be difficult considering half the team were hanging out their arse by the end of yesterday. Probably haven't slept much either. Whether Romero and Son have actually got injuries or they're injuries from the amount just being hungover. But yeah, I'd just like to see players that maybe should have played a little bit more during the season and haven't done. And again, as mentioned before, Tell and Odebear, who probably were a bit unlucky not to feature during the game. But I heard that Brighton had given us a guard of honour, so I think it's a pretty fair trade to give them 3 points for a guard of honour at the ground. So
yeah, well, I'm not 100% sure. Does this win get them Conference League football if they win the game? I'm not 100% sure, but I think they are playing for some kind of European football, I think. So it is a big game for them. But yeah, no, I mean, I think I mirror, what you're saying and what Alfie was saying. It would be nice to see some of those youngsters that maybe haven't had as much of a chance recently. It'll be very interesting with Matthias Tell, because you've got, after this game, you've got that kind of conversation. Is he going to be joining Tottenham permanently? Are we going to be making that purchase option, or is he going to be going back to Bayern Munich? From things I've been seeing, it looks like we are going to trigger that, and we are going to try and bring him in and be, a permanent player, which I look forward to. I mean, there's been moments this season where he hasn't looked great. He hasn't done too much, but he's come into such a difficult situation at Tottenham. And there's been moments where he's shown the quality of player he can be, especially on that left side. And what we've said with Son and how it looks like he might be fading away a little bit, maybe Tell's the right guy to be that long-term replacement. But maybe it would be great to see like some of the academy players like Ajayi. We haven't seen him since that game in Elfsborg. It would be great to see him maybe feature at some point. Callum, what are you thinking about tomorrow, just in general? It's the final game of the season. Got a long break of no Tottenham for a while, which I think we're all going to be kind of looking forward to. Even though we've won a trophy, I think we're all looking forward to a nice summer break. But what are you thinking about the game, and what would you look at in terms of a lineup?
Well, it's definitely a dead rubber of a game, isn't it? It's literally, there's nothing to sort of incentivize it apart from the facts, keeping the vibes going, we've got to make sure that Brighton do a good guard of honour for us. I don't know if they're meant to do that or whether that's because they're actually feeling sorry for us that it's taken us this bloody long to make it happen. But it's one of them where, like you say, Brighton are trying to play for their Conference League place. So I think if Chelsea win the Conference League next week against whoever it is, that the place opens up and drops down, because Chelsea will qualify for Europa League or get Europa League spot. So it's kind of all that coefficient moving down. So I think Brighton are up for it more than us. Let's put it that way. After players today, I mean, they went out in Mayfair last night as well, and apparently that went down like a lead balloon. Let's put it that way. And the under-18 players ended up in a pub called The Ball in Cheshunt as well. And that included Mikey Moore, Olasesi, Damola Ajay, Scarlett, Lancashire. So every player that we want to play tomorrow is probably at least not on a sports science level going to be fit enough to do it one way or another. But if we're going to be realistic, I think it'll be a mixed team. You probably have Van der Ven and Danso, maybe Doggy, Spence, or Porro and Spence.
Probably see Kinski maybe in goal, possibly.
That's what I'm thinking. Either Kinski, or do you give someone like Forster a goal? Because remember, Forster's out of contract this summer. I mean, admittedly, you might as well have a JCB in goal because it'd be more manoeuvrable than him. So it's a weird one. I've just seen as well in the chat that apparently Arsenal ladies have won the Champions League tonight. So even they're taking the piss out of Arteta as well, which is just makes my day, to be honest. I mean, he will cry. They will throw another £150 billion into that team and they will still come up second. I think I'd rather win the Europa League than be second because we've had that.
Yeah, we've had it. We've experienced both, haven't we? And I can safely say that winning this trophy has been the best moment as a Tottenham fan. So, yeah. All right. Well, what's everyone's score prediction for tomorrow? I'll start with you, Alfie, with you going to the game. I mean, I'm sure you're hoping for a win. What are you expecting from the game?
Yeah, I'm expecting a loss. I'm expecting something like, I'm assuming there'll be quite a lot of goals because a lot of injuries are defensive. I think we'll probably get a goal because I don't think Brighton are too great, and I think back to that awful 3-2 at the start of the season. So I think it'll be something like 3-1 this time around. I think looking at the table, with Brighton only need a point to secure their spot, but I'm assuming they'll get all three. But I'm just hoping it's not. I'm hoping the performance will be a good one at least, even if we do lose as expected. I think it'll be good to finish off with a good performance and have the parade. I think the parade's happening after the full-time whistle. They're doing sort of that end of season
Or where they kind of like walk around the pitch kind of thing with their
lap of
families and stuff.
appreciation. So
Yeah,
I don't want that to be after an awful performance. So I'm hoping, I think it'll be about 3-1, but I'm hoping for a good display at least.
Okay, Kyle, what are you thinking for the game? What would you go for as a score prediction?
I think 3-1 to Brighton, to be fair. I think it's going to be a team that haven't really played much minutes together, so can't really expect crazy performances. I'd just like to see some promising individual performances. I'd want to see Moore have a good game. I'd want to see, Spence, who's not really been in the side as much recently. I think it doesn't help that Udogie and Porro have been fantastic in Europe. So he's kind of been put back to the bench. I'd like to see him have a good game if he features. Gray, for example, Danso, who as well, shout out Danso as well, by the way, from the other night coming on. I think he's probably one of our best January signings of the last couple of years, pretty much just from how cheap he was. I think he's 20 million, but option to buy 25 million. And he's actually good as well. He's actually helped us. So, I'd like to see him have a good game as well.
And Callum, what are you thinking in terms of a score prediction?
Well, I'm delusional compared to the rest of the guys, so I'm going to go for a 3-1 Spurs win. I think...
And so that Europa League has completely changed you, Callum, because you and me used to be the most pessimistic people. We'd always predict a Tottenham loss. Has it just changed? Has everything changed?
It starts now.
Well, it's either that or because Harry has probably had quiet words with us saying that we was being too negative on the pod and he was losing too many views over it. So what we have in our own opinions is different. What we do on live on air is what we have to say. We have to follow a very tight narrative for this show. But no, I think it's some if we can continue doing it, then I think Brighton are there to be got at, but what we've got to do, we've got to keep Danny Welbeck quiet. He's someone who really scares me every time we play against him. He scores. So if we can do that, then why not? And we should just go for our strongest lineup because there's nothing else to play for after this. They're going on holidays. We're not doing a stupid pre-season or post-season game in Australia this year. So just play everyone who's available. Simple as that.
Yeah, part of me feels like we could just randomly start playing well. Like there's been some of the games that we've had, final games of the season, that have always been, we've just for some reason turned it on, haven't we? Like, remember there was a game against Leicester at Wembley. We won like 4-5-3 or something like that. I can't even remember now.
5-4 hours there.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable.
We've
had a couple of games like that towards the end, and it seems like, I think about the one at Norwich.
Hull 7-1. We beat them on a final day for that. Sheffield United, we beat like 5-1.
We lost 5-1 to
really big
Newcastle
games
as well.
Yeah, true. But there's been some big games on the final day, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if for some reason things clicked and we played well. But I'll still go over Tottenham 2-1 loss because I guess I'm always going to keep my pessimistic traits. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. Let's go around the panel and get some information about where you can find all of the creators here. Again, thank you all for joining me. It's been great chatting and finally having a positive talk about Tottenham. Alfie, let's start with you. Where can people find you?
My Twitter handle is just below there, like journalism stuff and just opinions on Spurs. And then my TikTok and Instagram is just Alfie Nicholson Journalism. Just sort of do a lot of graphic design work at the moment. I have photographed the academy and then, some Spurs graphics of Spurs players I've done work for Archie Gray and stuff. So if any Spurs fans are interested in that sort of stuff, then that's where you can go and find me.
That's great, Alfie. Good to see like you're getting into like the world of journalism. It's a good place to start, especially like coming on all these podcasts and everything as well. So thank you for joining me. Kyle, where can people find you?
That's a pretty tough act to follow. I have not done work for Archie Gray and all of that. But yeah, you can follow my Twitter. It's literally just my name, Kyle Freegard. I'm soon to graduate from university in journalism, doing a master's next year, media and comms. So yeah, I'll mainly tweet about Spurs pretty much. And then also one of my friends' podcast. We're not very consistent with it at the moment, but over the summer, we're hoping to bang out a few more videos now that we've got more free time.
That's great, Carl. Thank you for joining me. And Callum, obviously co-host, always here on the channel regular, but where can people find you and everything else you do?
You can find me on X at CallumSubs97. I feel like the last couple of days I've aged dramatically, so I probably will be in an old git zone by the end of the week. But no, I think I'm back Monday as well, doing the Brighton post-match results show, so that'll be interesting as well. But no, cheers for having me on, mate.
Always. And yeah, thank you, Harry. You know, obviously he's doing his GCSEs. Obviously everyone wish him a bit of good luck, because I'm sure they've been tough on him, but he's getting through them, especially a tough time when you've got Tottenham and everything going around, but you've still got to focus on exams. But yeah, thank you for allowing me to host. Always great to be a part of the channel. If you like what you're seeing, then please follow me on X, JosephTHFC. But again, thank you all for coming. Again, an unbelievable time to be a Tottenham fan. I think we can all finally rest, and we've got that kind of joy of winning a trophy. So yeah, hopefully we can all enjoy that over the summer, and you know, soon we'll be back and we'll be looking into a new season of what we're going to be doing. But thank you everyone for watching. Come on, you Spurs.